And welcome back to Hoopsville once again, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're having a good Thursday evening. Obviously, this show is pre-taped due to a conflict. We had to tape all of this ahead of time, so we appreciate you just enjoying the show tonight. There is ways you can interact with us, of course, on Twitter at D3Hoopsville or using the hashtag Hoopsville. We really encourage you to use the hashtag to keep the conversation going with everybody. Don't forget on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Hoopsville. You can email us whenever you want, hoopsville at d3hoops.com. That's hoopsville at d3hoops.com. Please interact with us. Share ideas with us if you have thoughts. There's also even a Hoopsville thread under general basketball on the D3 boards. We encourage you to do that. I want to thank Gary Stewart once again for joining us to talk about the upcoming Hoopsville National Invitational Classic. Again, if you have not had the opportunity to check out the games at Stevenson, we certainly encourage you. Again, three top 20 teams in the country will be there, including 2 Elite 8 matchups, and of course 5 teams receiving votes. You heard all the details with Gary. We encourage you to come if you're in the Owings Mills, Baltimore area. If not, watch them online. We will be streaming them with myself, Frank Rossi, Jeff Gamber, former head coach at York, and Gordon Mann, all from D3Hoops.com. Let's get to the other big story of the week, and that was the thrilling upset, as it were, for one particular Vermont team over one particular Massachusetts teams that have high expectations this season. Southern Vermont defeating Williams in the very first game of the season in a nail-biter, 88-87 at Williams' tournament. And joining us on the Hoopsville hotline is Coach Dan Engelstad from Southern Vermont. Coach, welcome to the show.
Dave, I appreciate you having me. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Almost a no-brainer, as it were, despite whatever the outcome was the next game or for the rest of the season. We should point out, to prove that this is a pre-taped show, you are actually in the middle of coaching, if this were live, at 7 o'clock at Green Mountain, about an hour from your campus. So obviously we're not talking to you live, in case anyone's gotten confused. First and foremost, the season last year, 1-24. The year before that, 2-22. The Southern Vermont Mountaineers have certainly fallen on hard times. And to come out of the gate and defeat Williams, not technically at their place, but certainly at their tournament, we'll touch on that in a second, that's got to be a huge step for this program.
Yeah, it was just a great night all around, and I took the job right before the Final Four in April, and I immediately got to work, and I wanted to find out who the rival was at Southern Vermont, and it's like no one could pinpoint anybody, but the game that actually means the most to this college was the Williams game, and so I started watching tape a ways back, and I have nothing but respect for that program and what they've done. But it was a special night. It was a night where our community came out and supported, and I thought our guys did an unbelievable job of executing the game plan and having that belief that we could really compete with a top 5 program in the country. And so it was a huge win for a lot of different reasons. It made our guys believe in what we're trying to do and the culture that we're trying to bring. As you mentioned, we did have a little bit of a letdown the following day, but it's hard to come back 10 hours later and play in the same gym where you just experienced such euphoria, and have to come back and do it again in front of 30 people, and so it was a good learning experience for us. I'm really excited about the group that I do have, and I think we'll benefit tremendously from getting in such a great basketball game in such a great environment against one of the best teams in the country, and coming out on top.
I love the write-up from your SID, starting right off. Some people say there's a first time for everything, and really, in reality, there were a couple firsts in this. Not only did you get your first head coaching win, but the first win against Williams, which this team, Southern Vermont has faced 13 times. Should mention the teams are 15 miles apart, or the schools, the campuses are 15 miles apart. You're on one side of the border in Vermont, and they're on the other in Massachusetts. Game wasn't played, though, at Williams. It was played at MCLA, Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts. Though that's not that far away. It's another 6 miles. How much, though, does that impact things? How much do you think that might have been an advantage for you guys?
At first I was a little bit upset that we weren't going to play at Williams, just because I didn't know that if our fans would come, because moving to MCLA, the distance ended up being about 15 miles more from our campus. So that instead of that 15-mile trip, they got to make a 30. So it's about a 40-minute drive.
Sure.
So I didn't know if they would show up in masses like they did. But there had been a buzz around our campus, and we did our Midnight Madness, and people got excited about that. And so I think at the end of the day, it was a tremendous advantage. Williams wasn't in the comforts of their home, and to be honest with you, I thought our fans were the more aggressive fans and louder, and I think our guys really fed off that and energy, and I think it played a big part. We call our fan base the Mac Pack, and so we had our sea of yellow over there, and when we started to make our push there at the last couple minutes of the game, I think they gave us a little bit of an extra boost that we needed, and so it was still a really great college basketball environment, and Williams fans, not saying they weren't great, but I do think that it helped that we got to play central, essentially a neutral site.
Of course, interestingly enough, the Williams fans, the reason for the move was they had split loyalties. The women's volleyball team hosting the regional championship, though I don't know how much that was a factor. Of course, you guys led by 4 at half, held on to win by 1. I suspect this is the game tape that is going to be requested for the rest of the season, not only because the NESCAC would love to see how you guys beat Williams, but if Williams should get into the NCAA tournament, there's going to be some coaches certainly looking for ways that you guys were able to pick apart Williams. I know you're not going to give us all the X's and O's because you don't want to give away everything that you do for your own conference opponents, or for that matter, Green Mountain, who you're taking on as this show hits the air. But what was the secret? I mean, what did you guys do in essence, in generality, that seemed to work so well?
Right. One of the things that really helped was it's the first game of the season, and because I'm brand new, I don't think they necessarily knew how I wanted to play. So we were trying to play pretty fast, and we're a pressing team. So I've done a lot of studying. I've tried to learn as much as I can from like the VCUs of the world, and I played in that system in college. I played for Brock Cantro and then Chris Harney at St. Mary's College, and they did a lot of two guard front action, which is like the John Beeline, who Mike Maker's the disciple of. So I've studied Mike Maker, and I've watched his DVDs that he's had out, and I have nothing but respect for him. But I knew with that offense, a lot of it's predicated on being able to get back doors and getting to your spot. So I knew that our pressure could frustrate them a little bit, and I think it kind of hit them by shock. We got out the gate 7-0, and we were able to make some plays on the defensive end, and we were able to get out in transition and make a couple plays, and so that helped us get a little feel of belief that we could hang around. And but at the end of the day, I knew they were going to make a push. They're way too good not to, and I told our guys the night before, I said, look, it's a game of runs. They shoot the ball really well. They're going to get a couple shots that they're going to make. We just got to withstand their push. And they had a couple times where they pushed it to about 6 or 8, but our guys believed it, and they kept fighting back. And then we made the last push to end the game, which was probably the key to the victory, was being able to make some plays and do it within the midst of how we play. I told the guys, we can't go off what we practiced. We have to stay to the script and do that. And they did a heck of a job of executing down the stretch, and we were able to get in some matchups, because we have a couple guys that, if we're in one-on-one matchups, that even guys at Williams have a tough time guarding. So because we got a little bit of the speed advantage against those guys. So I knew if I could put them in space enough that they could make a couple plays that Williams would have a tough time guarding.
I should point out, if you look at the stat sheet, this was a well-played game. Both teams shot 50% from the floor. You guys shot 41% from beyond the arc, 7 of 17. They were 6 for 20, so a few percentage points lower, but one shot difference. Both teams shot well from the free throw line. They out-rebounded you by 9, but you guys limited your turnovers to 8. They had 16, so really, obviously, if you look at that, you go, okay, so defense was certainly a factor, but it looks on paper, without looking at video, this was a well-played game for the first game of the season.
It really was, and that's what I heard from both sides. Even the Williams fans that came up and talked to me, they obviously watched a lot of basketball and are pretty knowledgeable fans. They commented how they thought both teams played pretty well. Now, I know both teams, I know watching the film, I've got a chance to watch it. I didn't get a chance the night of because we were trying to prepare for our next opponent. But there's so much stuff that we could still clean up and get better at, and wish we had done a couple different things in hindsight. And I'm sure
it was the first game, though.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but that's how we are as coaches, and I'm sure Coach Maker the same way. And the one thing with the NESCAC, I know, which is hard for them, is they only had a couple weeks of practice. We had an extra week or two before they even got started with their practice, so we were a little bit ahead of the ball game in terms of putting the stuff for the younger guys. Now, the thing with Williams is they have veteran leadership in Epley, and they have a bunch of guys that really know how to play the game and have played together. So I think we're ahead of the curve, but at the same time, some of the younger guys that haven't played, I think the adjustment is a little bit tougher because they only got 2 weeks of practice.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. And lots will say that sometimes is the biggest factor. I hate to dwell on it. The next night you guys played, or next day you played Rutgers-Newark, and what was the unexpected championship game for Williams' tournament. And of course, the opposite happened. You shot 34.5% from the floor, 24% from beyond the arc, 53% from the free throw line. More turnovers, though certainly not a ton more. It's not like they were world beaters either, I should point out. They didn't shoot all that well either. It was certainly, it looked like on paper, a polar opposite. You were telling me before we went on air with this, you guys got back late, really didn't have a lot of time to turn around into that. And, of course, I think any layman would know the biggest risk on a next day like that is coming off of a heck of a win like that and trying to keep that momentum.
Yeah. We tried so hard. We talked to the guys. We tried to tell them what to expect and how they needed to get their rest. And I know it was tough, but we wanted them to soak it in and enjoy the moment. But at the same time, we had to turn around, and we had to shoot around at 9 a.m. We got in at around almost 1 o'clock from Williams. The game got started a little bit late. So, I knew it was going to be tough, but the energy was good in the morning, and I thought we had a good idea of what was coming down the pike, and we actually had a couple chances early against Rutgers-Camden to make a couple plays, and we missed some free throws, we missed a couple layups, and then they started getting a little bit of belief, and like you said, it was a little bit of a sloppy game. Not many jump shots were made. We had some turnovers, and I hope in the end it's going to be good for our program and for our team. I think we need to realize that we're not good enough where we can just walk into the gym and beat anybody, and especially a good team like Rutgers. It's not like we wouldn't have had to play a team that's not any good. This team was an NCAA tournament team last year. So, and they just came off a loss, and so they were hungry, and they'd seen what had happened the night before. So I don't like making excuses, and I told the guys we're not going to use it as an excuse, but it is hard to come back from that emotional high and to come back into the same gym that just had this amazing moment and play in front of, about 1,000 less fans.
Yeah.
And you try to get revved back up again. And it just was tough. But, I think our guys have handled it pretty well. We've had some good practices afterwards, and I'm excited to see how they respond because it hurt them that we lost. And, for me, I just wish they could have enjoyed that moment of having that big-time win in front of our entire student body for a little bit longer. But, that's the game of basketball. You got to have a quick turnaround and get back out there and do it again. Should
mention anybody, if anyone doesn't recognize the name, you do have a pretty good D3 pedigree. Having played, you mentioned Coach Harney at St. Mary's, playing under him at St. Mary's in Maryland. Of course, I've called a few games that featured Dan Engelstad at the point as a 2007 grad of the Seahawks. Quickly, let's talk about St. Mary's before we go on the rest of your coaching pedigree here. I'm sure you are impressed with your alma mater. You were there at the beginning of what has become an incredible run for St. Mary's, almost a perennial NCAA favorite, almost a perennial top 25 favorite now. Now you're a little bit afar, as you were in the Maryland area, but now a little bit afar. What's it like to look back at the team that you kind of were at the beginning of all this?
Right. No, it's been so fun, and Coach Harney has become a mentor, and You'll like this really quick. He actually, we were talking before, we were recruiting out in Maryland, and we ended up going and have dinner together, and with salt shakers and all sorts of different, I think, sugar packets. He diagrammed our first play that we used against Williams. So, he's someone that I can lean on for advice, and an unbelievable coach. And just to see what he's done with his program, like, he put the blueprint out there on how to have and how to build a successful program. And having that and seeing it firsthand, like seeing the rebuilding process, that's helped me out tremendously when I took the job over here. How hard he was working on the recruiting trail, how he lost a lot of sleep trying to figure out game plans and trying to there are very few Coach Harney works his butt off. I mean, there are not a lot of people out there that are going to outwork him. So he showed me that work ethic and what it takes. And I knew a lot of the guys after I graduated that were part of that unbelievable run that's still continuing today. So I stayed close with the athletic director. And so I follow St. Mary's and saw they had a big win again last night. And I missed a call from Coach today, and I'm sure we'll touch base here soon. But it's neat to see their success. And, I hope that we can match that and hopefully get there and see him in the tournament someday. That'd be a lot of fun.
Last night being Monday night, if anyone is curious. We'll be talking to Coach Chris Harney at the Hoopsville National Invitational Classic, and I say this to you only because I am 99% sure he is going to be listening to this interview. I've never seen him work hard.
Really?
No, I say that jokingly. He has had so many assistant coaches, I think, do all the hard work. No, I say that because I have ribbed him before.
He has a lot of fun, too. He has a lot of fun,
He
too.
does.
There's no
He does.
question.
I only say that because I know he's listening, and I just want to. I'm testing him because if I don't get a reaction from him at the Classic, then I know he didn't watch the show, which I know he does. But quickly, but after that, you went into the D1 realm, most particularly Mount St. Mary's up in the mountains, somewhat of Maryland. Interestingly enough, a Mountaineers mascot. You are now the head coach of a Mountaineers team. Of course, you had that game that everyone in the Baltimore media, which I used to be a part of and kind of still am, joked about. It was Coppin State from Baltimore and Mount St. Mary's in the play-in game, whatever you want to call it, in D1. And, of course, you guys played it, I think, in Ohio. Could have played that in Baltimore. It would have been a lot better. But how much has that taught you? How much is the D1 experience piled onto your D3 playing experience helping you? And obviously you're early in your first head coaching experience here, but how much are you tapping into all that?
Yeah, well, these past 6 years have been an unbelievable learning experience. If I'd gotten a chance to get a job right out of college, I would have had no idea what I was doing. I just got to see how the business works. I got to see, I got to learn the X's and O's. I got to see how the recruiting stuff works, and I got to be a part of everything. And I got to give a lot of credit to Coach Milan Brown, who's been my coaching mentor. He's the guy that I've had a chance to learn from, and we're using a lot of the stuff that he taught me here at Southern Vermont. But just he allowed his assistants, including myself, to learn kind of all the facets. I was the defensive coordinator last year, so my voice was heard. So I felt comfortable speaking in front of the group when I got here. He gave me scouting reports, so I feel comfortable being able to give the scout. And so it prepared me tremendously for this opportunity. It's funny, my first words when I got here at Southern Vermont, I was a little bit nervous, like my first couple, because it changes when you become a head coach. And so those first couple words was a little nervous, but then I got really comfortable. And it was just because I know that I had prepared the past 6 years and worked really hard and worked with some really good basketball minds and in the staff that I had at both Mount St. Mary's and Holy Cross. And another St. Mary's guy, Kevin Robinson, I got to give him credit. He's the one that kind of got me into the business at Mount St. Mary's when we had that success. And, I was, say, 22-year-old kid when I got a chance to get in the Division I door. It was an unbelievable break, and I was making, I guess, $5,000 in grad school, which I was thrilled about. But, looking at it now, it wasn't a whole lot, but the experience that I had was valuable. And first year in, we got a chance to go to the NCAA tournament and play in that playing game that you said, which was bizarre in itself because that crowd, it was a packed crowd, but they didn't know who to cheer for, so it kept swaying back and forth, which I had never been part of, with a neutral crowd that first part, they loved Coppin State because they were getting all these dunks, and then by the end, they were cheering for us. So it was an interesting experience. But it all was meant to be. And I'm in a really good place now with a really good support from the administration, and I saw how important that part is of it too, just the support from the top. And so I felt really comfortable just from those 6 years of working with some really good people, and so I think I've been very fortunate.
We should mention, if you don't know Mount St. Mary's, by the way, one of the deans of coaching in college was a coach there, and Jim Phelan, 49 years, which he's best known for being the head coach at Mount St. Mary's, and of course also wearing a bow tie on the sideline. I was honored to be at his press conference when he retired. So certainly,
we're going to be at Hood College.
Yes, I know.
We're going to be at Hood College, and Coach Phelan is talking to our group.
Oh, that's awesome.
I stayed very close with him, and I went and saw a lot of practices. I told you that we're modeling ourselves after like VCU. Well, Mount St. Mary's the other team. They like the press, and Jamien's a really good friend of mine. My assistant and I ended up having lunch with Coach Phelan, and he shared his time and his wisdom too. So you hit it on the head, man. He's an unbelievable coach, but he's even a better person, and I'm so blessed that he's going to have I get a chance to have him speak to my group. And
that's incredible.
I think it'll be good for him.
Yeah, I mean, 49 years, and he never looked a day younger. He was a pretty impressive coach for Mount St. Mary's. Great that your team will get a chance to meet him. I don't know if I'll be able to get out to Hood. Unfortunately, I'll be down in Salem, Virginia on Friday, returning Saturday. We'll see. I might try and sneak in the game if I can on the way home, because basically, well, I got to come through Frederick to come home. So
gotcha.
It's pretty easy that I could do it, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, you said you're playing Sunday then as well?
I think it's Saturday and Sunday is the tournament, the 20th and 21st of December.
I had
21st and 2nd.
Yeah, I had the wrong dates. That's why I should look at that a little more closely. Hey, congratulations again with the win over Williams. Certainly an impressive start to your head coaching career. I know we'll hear more about Southern Vermont in the future, and of course Dan Engelstad as well. So congratulations on a terrific start to the season, despite the loss to Rutgers-Newark. We'll look forward to seeing how you do the rest of the way, and especially in the NECC. As always, I give the coach the final word, or the guest, I should say, in general. So any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be tuning in?
No, I just really appreciate the opportunity to be on here tonight, and as I said before, I'm just really excited for the group that I have here and the direction of our program. I got some great guys working with me, and I think if you do get a chance to check us out this year, you'll see a hungry group that plays really hard and plays for the right reasons and plays for each other. So I'm proud of that, and I hope that continues. And but I really do appreciate the time and you having me on tonight. It was a lot of fun.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time as well. Congratulations. We'll talk soon.
Thanks a lot.
Dan Engelstad joining us on the Hoopsville hotline. As we mentioned, if you're watching the show when it normally airs and when we let you know it was on the air, they are currently playing at Green Mountain, about an hour away in the state of Vermont. They then hit home for the first time on November 23rd against Sage, then hit their conference action for the first time on December 3rd at Elms. That is their next 3 games on the schedule. We'll keep an eye on them for sure the rest of the way. I want to thank Coach Dan Engelstad once again for coming on the show, and congratulations to the Mountaineers on a big victory over the Williams Eves to start the 2013-14 season. When we come back, we'll continue Hoopsville here on our pre-taped show. We will jump into a little bit of women's basketball, talk to 2 Division I transfers who are playing Division III basketball, why they made the transfer, why they made the commitments to Division I in the first place, and how they're settling into Division III. One in her first year and the other who has played for a few years. You just may not realize it. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We'll be back right after